Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. Today, we are having a very special episode where we are giving our awards for the best of 2020. We made it through the worst year ever. It was certainly a tough year for movies, but there were some gems, and we like to give out our prizes for what we liked. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Conrado is here.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be back on Rachel's Reviews for one of our big traditions.
Yeah, we've been doing this a while. I mean, it's been 3-4 years that we've been doing this, so pretty fun. And yeah, it was quite the year when it
hmm
came to movies.
Yeah, we're sad to say we had to cancel the in-person award ceremony because of, everything that's going on. So it's going to be over Zoom.
Yeah,
But don't worry, everybody. The celebrities will be here.
that's
They
right.
will be singing Imagine. It'll be great.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, we'll have a panel at the end, the Zoom panel with everyone's thoughts. So, all right. Well, we have some typical categories, and then we have our fun categories, which I think the Oscars would be way better if they adapted some of these fun categories.
Yep, I agree with you.
Yeah, and of course, the Oscars, we are not going to get them until April this year. What do you think about that?
Um, I mean, I guess they had to do something like that, right? Although I guess the reason they pushed it back was just mostly to see if theaters would be open by then, but I don't know if they will be, or at least not in the way they were before the pandemic. So just gives us a very long Oscar season. I don't know. Maybe they'll have
Yeah,
the ceremony somehow in person. People who get the vaccine maybe will be there. I don't know.
yeah, I think they probably were hopeful, but it's taking a little bit long to get the vaccine out there, and I mean it's I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it affects the next year's Oscars because that will only have a shorter time period.
hmm I guess
Uh,
hopefully by then they'll we actually be able to send movies in theaters.
mhm. Because it'll just be May through the end of the year. But I guess that beginning of the year usually doesn't have that many nominated films anyway.
Yeah, everyone waits until the last minute. So
Mm,
now we're gonna see all the Oscar contenders coming out in February.
yeah. Well, so what do you think? Even though we had this strange year, what do you think about what we did get to see and what got released? Did you feel like it I don't know, how did you feel about the year?
Um, I gotta say, in terms of movie watching, this was a great year for me to look back and catch up with a lot of stuff that I had been wanting to see for a long time that I couldn't get to in the past. So definitely old movies were what I was watching the most, probably more than any other year that I can remember. So that was great. And then from the new stuff, I gotta be honest, I didn't watch as much as maybe I should have or I would have wanted to. I did see enough that I really liked so that I can talk about all these categories with you. And I have a lot of movies that I'm really excited about. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
I
really hard to track them down and to see where they were being released. I don't know if you agree with that.
no, that can be a pain sometimes. And I mean, as a critic, I know it sounds really glamorous, like getting screeners and stuff, but it can be a real pain in the neck trying to contact publicists, trying to get the screeners, and it can be very frustrating.
hmm
But still, I mean, I still ended up seeing a lot of movies. I saw feature films. I saw 176 feature films
That's a lot.
in 2020. That this new feature films.
hmm
And then if you include TV movies, I saw 325.
Wow. Well, we know where those come from.
Yeah. I
There's never going to
saw
be a shortage of those for you.
no, I saw 115 Christmas movies for 2020, and I think the Christmas movie movie making machine was definitely the winner of 2020. I mean, it's unbelievable what they accomplished
Mm-hmm.
is unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
that they that we got between Lifetime and Hallmark got over 70 movies in 2020. It's just I don't know how I still can't believe it.
It's the magic of Christmas. It
It
just,
really is.
you can't stop Christmas.
No, I think it's true. I think that Santa Claus is running Hallmark Channel. This is
Yeah, there
clear.
we go.
So, yeah, so that was that. I was as busy as ever in a lot of ways with the Hallmarkies podcast. So, let's dive in. Let's talk about our favorite, and this is kind of more loose word blockbuster because most of the blockbusters were delayed.
Hmm.
But did you have anything that you thought of for that one?
Yeah, definitely. So it feels to me that every time I come here, I have to redefine what a blockbuster means
Right.
and what to pick. I decided this year, especially since a lot of them didn't come out, that a blockbuster should just be like a mainstream big studio movie meant to be enjoyed by as many people as possible, right? Like a real popcorn crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
And for me, the one that I had the best time with is a movie that I know for a fact that you don't like, which is
Oh.
the Netflix movie starring the great Adam Sandler, Hubie Halloween,
Oh.
which I had a great time with. And I thought it was very charming and very funny, even though it was also very dumb. But, that's kind of what you
Uh-huh.
expect from this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but I know a lot of other people enjoyed it. So I think it's certainly not his worst movie.
Hmm.
If you're talking the Adam Sandler Netflix movies, it's I just even his voice just was not for me.
I guess there has to be a level of acceptance of that kind of humor for you to get into it to begin with. I would have to say I haven't seen that many of his Netflix movies. I gotta admit, but what I really loved about this one was a sense of which I think some people criticize him for, but I found the idea of everybody just hanging out, all of his comedian friends, and then were these actors. It was like Ray Liotta, and then there was this like I think they were like Instagram influencers or I don't know, people who I didn't know, like young
Uh-huh.
actors. And then they were all kind of together and just hanging out. And it was like a funny comedy that, we don't see that often, at least on the big screen, even though this wasn't on the big screen, obviously it was on Netflix. But
Mhm.
I just had a great time with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of times his movies, it's like clear that they kind of all were there just for a free vacation.
Hmm.
And that wasn't the case with that one. So that was good. But some of them, it's, I don't know, you just feel like, oh, you're there just to go on a cruise with your friends or, you know,
Hmm.
and that, that can be, just feel a little lazy.
Yeah.
But, that wasn't the case with that one. So I do
Hmm.
appreciate that.
I
And,
mean, listen, if someone wants to take me on a free cruise, I'll go. Adam Sandler, my number is ready. I'm ready to be in any of your movies.
yeah. Well, my pick for best blockbuster is Love and Monsters. This was such a
Mm.
pleasant surprise. Uh, and I'm normally not a fan of like dystopian stories that much, end of the world kind of stories, but I have to say this I don't know if it was just cuz 2020 or what, but there were a number that worked for me and this one was so charming and it had kind of everything that you could want in a movie. It was funny, it was romantic, it was sweet, it was uh I don't know. It's about this Dylan O'Brien plays this young man who they've had this nuclear fallout, whatever end of the world thing, and basically like normal animals have mutated into these giant monsters and kind of taken over the 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 main uh earth and everybody's living kind of underneath the ground but
Mm.
he decides to go onto the earth to go and try to find his girlfriend from before everything happened. And so he starts on this journey, and Michael Rooker plays this I don't know what you'd call him, kind of vagabond type guy with him and his daughter that give him tips on how to survive. He's
Mm.
really funny in it and charming, and not funny in like an obnoxious sense, but in a just charming funny. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. It had a nice heart to it. He's got a dog that's great. It
Mm.
was such a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of like a Zombieland bed with like crazy
Yes.
monsters instead of zombies, right? Is that
Yeah,
the
it's
vibe?
it's not as outright a comedy as Zombieland,
Mm-hmm.
which is more an outright satire, but, uh but yeah, it definitely a lot of people compared it to Zombieland,
That makes
when it
sense.
came out, and this is not as R-rated as Zombieland either.
I
But
see.
I I just I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was sweet and funny, and I thought for the budget they had, I thought they did a good job with the world building and the creature design. And you'd have like giant frogs, or sort of these these kind of these monsters. There's a great scene where he's talking to a robot that's on its last burst of energy,
Oh,
and really really good. And so yeah, I think that people should check it out. It's a hidden, I would say, hidden gem
cool.
from 2020.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I'm looking at the images and the monsters look really cool. So I
Yeah,
am definitely intrigued.
yeah, it has a cool style to it, and they did a lot with a a minimal budget.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I don't know, it's one of those ones I can't imagine anybody disliking. It's such a sweet movie. And so yeah, I think you'd like it. I really do.
I'm
So
definitely intrigued.
mhm. All right. Well, next up we have the best indie,
Mm-hmm.
and this was a lot of the films that I ended up seeing would probably be classified as somewhat indie films. But my favorite, I have to give the award to Dick Johnson is Dead. And
Hmm.
this documentary that I saw at Sundance by Kirsten Johnson, and she is kind of dealing with the reality that her father will pass away, and uh, and she kind of puts him through these little scenarios of how he could die, at the same time kind of telling his story and telling her story. And I just loved it. I loved Dick Johnson. He is so funny and sweet and reminded me of my grandpa, who I love so much. And both my grandmas passed away last year. And so I don't know, really, this hit home to me when I saw it at Sundance. And when I saw it again, I loved it again. And I love her. She's incredible. And I loved her family. I just I loved everything about it. It was such a sweet movie. And I know a lot of people don't think of maybe documentaries for a category like this, but it was one of my favorites of 2020.
Mm, sounds great. Definitely one that I wanted to check out ever since you talked about it on Sundance. And I don't know for what reason I just didn't get around to it, but I definitely will. Thanks for reminding me of it. It does look very good.
Yeah, I think if anybody has had like a relationship with a grandpa or any kind of figure like that, or even just uh, even a parent, anybody
Right,
should be able to relate to it. I feel like,
right.
and
Well,
it's
it's her dad, right? Dick Johnson is Kristen
her
Johnson's
dad,
dad. Okay, yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
and he's still alive to my knowledge. So
Oh, good.
yay, yeah, he's not dead, so that's good.
That's great. False
Uh,
advertising there.
I know, and he was at Sundance, which was really fun,
Oh, great.
and yeah, so. Uh, so what do you have as your favorite indie?
So my favorite indie, um, as the kind of little bit snobby hipster kind of soul that I am, I'm a little sad to say that it's a movie that has been celebrated quite a bit and has been winning kind of critics awards for best
Uh-huh.
film. But I do love this movie more than any other that I saw this year, and that is First Cow from
Mhm.
Kelly Reichardt, which is a movie about I guess the frontier, the Oregon frontier, a couple of people who are, two men who are not necessarily rugged frontier types trying to make it there and trying to survive there and and forming a really, in my opinion, very beautiful friendship. So
Yeah.
I was definitely very moved by the movie. And I mean, it's a Kelly Reichardt movie, so it's kind of spare and at times I think people would say slow, but I also found it funny and tender and emotionally engaging. So I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's really good. I loved it too. I didn't have it in my top 20, but I still really enjoyed it. And I think it's very interesting. The last couple of years, we have had a ton of movies about unlikely male friendships.
Hmm.
And I think this is a good entry in that kind of canon.
hmm
It's something that I feel like we're really interested in as a culture.
Yeah, and you make a good point because I feel like I've seen some of those movies and they haven't always worked for me, or they haven't
Yeah.
always. A lot of people say like, "Oh, this movie is doing male friendship right. It's like getting it right and showing something that we don't
Yeah.
usually see." I feel like that's not always the case, but in the case of First Cow, I think it's really um, true, at least in my perspective. I feel like this relationship felt very, very uh, emotionally available and honest and truthful in a way that um, that to be a little bit um, honest and personal about it, I wish more of my friendships were that transparently
Hmm.
emotional, right? I feel like for
Yeah.
certain men, maybe straight men in particular, at least certainly in my case, sometimes you are a little guarded with emotion, right?
Mhm.
You're a little bit, you don't want to be totally out there because of whatever
Mhm.
gender roles or what, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this was really beautiful in that sense.
Yeah, and I think we're just so busy that we even in a world of quarantine, we're still somehow at least I'm super busy. I feel like more almost more than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's challenging. But yeah, that was it was a good film. I enjoyed it. I actually watched it on Christmas Day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Um, Another one that I want to mention real quick for best indie is The Vast of Night. I thought that this was very impressive, and the thing that was exciting about it almost more than the movie itself is, I mean, I'm going to have my eye out for this Andrew Patterson because I thought it was very impressive what he did with a very small budget. That I mean, some of the beautiful tracking shots that he got, where following the characters through the town and just that
Mm-hmm.
he was able to create with a very small cast and limited training actors. I just thought, given all the constraints, what they were able to come up with, I thought was very impressive. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
saw
that's
that
another
one,
one.
and definitely a good movie. And I agree with what you said. Very impressive, everything they did.
Hmm. And it's just the kind of thing that I bet we're gonna hear from this person. It has a lot of potential. It uh, it was a lot of talking for a movie. It's very exposition heavy, but I enjoyed it. I actually saw it at the drive-in,
Mm.
so that was pretty fun.
Oh, that
And
seems like a good place to watch this
mhm,
movie because it's
mhm.
kind of retro '50s vibe. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that was really fun. And that's one I'd recommend to anybody. And I think it's just somebody a has really got on my map with the Vast of Night. So all right, well, best animation.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my favorite movie of the year was Wolf Walkers
Mm-hmm.
from Tom Moore. I just think I think he's incredible. I've loved all of his movies. I've loved everything Cartoon Saloon has made. I loved the animation. I thought it was so beautiful. I loved the music. I loved the two girls and
Mm-hmm.
their bond. I liked the dynamic between the one girl and her father, and he's trying to protect her, but she knows kind of what is right and what she needs to do. And that dynamic was really good, and I just loved it. It may be his best movie. I think. I mean, I love Song of the Sea, so it's a battle between which one do I love more. But I think he is just an incredible animator,
Mm-hmm.
and so I
Yeah.
wish that it could win. I think he deserves to win, but I know he won't. But
Mm-hmm.
oh well.
Um, yeah, I think I agree with everything you're saying. I might also say it's his best movie. I think it's really, really great.
Hmm.
The animation, I think it just gets better and better with them, and the background art, the style, everything is just feels like with every movie they go to the next level. So that's
Hmm.
really exciting to see. Um, um, Yeah, I would have easily picked it for my best animation, except that I knew that you were going to pick it, so I wanted to pick something different. Um, and yeah, and actually, I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat here because if I'm being completely honest, the animated new thing that I enjoyed the most this year is actually the Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Which are so good.
Hmm.
They are so great at capturing the style and the attitude of the original Looney Tunes shorts in a way that almost nothing since then has been able to capture, I would say.
Hmm.
um, and really, really exciting. I love the fact that they are going with a lot of references in style and animation to not just Chuck Jones, which is what we usually get, but also Tex Avery and Bob Clampett and the older cartoons. Um, and they're just so funny. And they're just so funny in the way that Looney Tunes used to be funny. And I think you like them too, right, Rachel?
I absolutely adored them. They were so good. They were my second favorite series that I watched in 2020. My favorite was Hilda season 2, which is just an
Of
absolutely
course.
wonderful animated show that I just want everybody to watch because it's so good. But but I loved the Looney Tunes shorts. They were so good. I mean, just almost every single one of them. I just thought was so funny and captured the charm of the original Looney Tunes. I mean, I have little nitpicks, like some of the voice cast wasn't perfect, I don't think. But other than that, I just really enjoyed it, and they have been very hit and miss for me as far as Looney Tunes stuff. So I was nervous
Mm,
going into it
hmm.
because they had the Looney Tunes show
Which
with
was,
which was awful. I hated it, and so yeah.
yeah.
And it kinda gives me hope for this upcoming Space Jam that maybe it'll be good.
Ooh,
Cross
we'll
fingers.
see. We'll see. That's going to be
Oh.
a tricky one, but I would definitely love it for it to be kind of in this style if possible.
Mhm.
We'll see about that. I'll just say one more thing about the Looney Tunes. That definitely they recaptured the magic. I think in one occasion they actually surpass it, and that's gonna say, I mean, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, they've always had great cartoons. I haven't always been the biggest Sylvester and Tweety fan. I think these Sylvester and Tweety cartoons are the best Sylvester and Tweety cartoons I have ever
Yeah.
seen, the funniest.
Mhm.
So I think in that sense, this is the best that those
That
characters have been.
that really was a very funny if I the one where grandma she leaves and there's all the cooking.
Mm-hmm.
That one. That
Yeah.
one was very good. I liked it very much.
And
I
have
mean, I
you
think
seen the
my
one with the
favorite.
Christmas special, the Sylvester and Tweety Christmas special one, when they're
No,
at
I
the
didn't.
store? That's also a really great one. I thought that was very,
Oh,
very funny.
all right. Well, the best actress is our next category. And for me, I have to go with Anya Taylor-Joy in Emma. I loved Emma. I saw it 3 times in the theater before everything went down, including once with my mother, and so that was really fun, and I've seen it a number of times since. I thought she did a really good job of capturing a sort of a younger Emma than we sometimes see. She really felt like a teenager, which I thought was nice. She felt like she was, 17, 18, which is accurate. And I loved I love the story of Emma. She's one of the more it's a difficult of the Jane Austen heroines because she's kind of selfish and she's a little bit unlikable,
Hmm.
and so that can be a challenge. But she learns and grows, and so she was my favorite.
Yeah, I also saw Emma. I think she's really great. Anya Taylor Joy. I think she's great in everything she does.
Yeah, she's really
That I've
good.
seen. She's a really good actress. I enjoyed Emma quite a bit. I think it didn't capture me the way it has captured other people because I've seen it on top 10 lists and people praise it a lot. So I'm curious to revisit it. I definitely had a good time watching it and I think it looks beautiful. And I also think um, Mia Goth, who
Mm,
plays, what's the character name? I'm forgetting.
yeah,
Um,
Harriet.
Harriet. I thought
Mhm.
she was also incredible. She was so good in that supporting role.
And Autumn de Wilde, I thought it was such a strong debut
Mhm.
direction for her. I appreciated some of the different choices that she made, like having the movie kind of told in a subtle way from the perspective of the servants, which was
Oh,
very interesting. I thought that you'd see the servants moving things around and kind of helping them get ready and
right.
that was interesting. I also Bill Nye was so good.
Hmm.
Loved him in this, and his complete inability to be able to help his child. Like the one scene where she's crying and she's upset, and he
Oh,
just stands
right.
there and he has no ability to like. I thought that was really well done, and he's always. I love Bill Nye. I think he is. I
Hmm.
think he's kind of underrated as
He's
an
a great
actor.
actor. And I
Yeah.
think he was perfect for this kind of, he was perfectly cast for this kind of role and this kind of movie, the
Hmm.
tone that the movie was going for.
Yeah, I think so too. And I really loved him in Their Finest a while back. And I don't know, it's just in Love Actually, he's great. I mean, he's just always great, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, so that was my choice. Who did you have as best actress?
So as best actress, I have someone. Okay, this is. I don't want to say a political choice, but it's definitely maybe a controversial choice because this is a person who has been winning a lot of awards as a best supporting actress. But I'm here to say she is not a supporting actress; she is the lead of the movie, and that is Maria Bakalova from Borat's subsequent movie film, which is the sequel to Borat. And I think that she has been rightfully singled out as a breakthrough performer, um, a totally unknown person, at least to me, from Bulgaria. And she just commits 100% to the bit. She commits to playing alongside Sacha Baron Cohen, which when he goes into his Borat mode and he goes out there to see all these people and try to do all this stuff, it's like, in my opinion, it's kind of brave what these people are doing. Whether or not you find it funny or whatever is different, but it's definitely dangerous. There's like a level of danger in there, and she totally commits to it. She doesn't break character. She's so funny. I um I assume this is probably a movie that you haven't seen because it doesn't seem like it's your kind of movie or humor. But
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
yeah, and I understand. I don't think you would particularly enjoy it. I don't think it's your thing, but I do think Maria Bakalova is great, and I think I'm happy that she's winning awards. I just wish she was winning them in lead actress because that's really what she is. The movie is about the two of them and their relationship.
Cool. Yeah, good. I have heard that she's good in that. So, all right. Well, best actor for me, I give the award to Charlie Plummer for his two films, Spontaneous and Words on Bathroom Walls. Both made my top 10. I think that he is just such a great young talent, and I think we're going to be hearing great things from him in years to come. I said that I feel like he's the next Leonardo DiCaprio
Mm.
as far as potential in awards and movies and things. And I loved Spontaneous. I thought that it was a very kind of it's an interesting movie because it's not underrated as far as the critics who see it like it. It's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, but nobody's talking about it. It's weird. It's such a bonkers, strange movie, but about it's this high school where all of a sudden people are exploding
Oh.
like out of nowhere. And so they have this teen romance where any minute they might explode, which is bizarre, but it works, and it's strange and funny and scary at times and romantic at times. And I he's just great, I think. And Catherine Langford is so good in that as well. And I loved Words on Bathroom Walls. He plays a young man who has schizophrenia. And that was a cool experience for me because in my blog review, I said I'd be really interested to talk to somebody who has schizophrenia, what they think of the movie. And a young man reached out to me and named Zach, and he ended up coming on my podcast, and we talked about it. And then the
Mm.
director, Tor Frudenthal, he heard our interview, and then he came on, and I talked with him. And so it
Oh,
was just
wow.
this really positive, awesome experience. And I loved the movie, but then it also was like a really positive personal experience as well.
That's great.
Yeah. So what's your choice?
For Best Actor, I have Luca Marinelli from the movie Martin Eden, which is an Italian movie that I saw for the first time last year at the New York Film Festival, and then it came out this year online. And I think almost everyone who sees the movie, whether they like it or not, everyone concludes that Luca Marinelli is a very handsome man. And I am not here to dispute that. He's also a great actor, I have to say. He um, has that kind of magnetic star persona charisma, which I think it's really useful when you're making a movie like Martin Eden, which is basically about this guy who is poor, like a working class guy who wants to be a writer, and as he goes into his writing career, he becomes more snobbish, and he becomes basically kind of a libertarian. To be honest, that's kind of the idea
All
of the movie.
right.
Right, but I don't think you would be happy about it. It's not a very flattering
Uh-oh.
portrayal. Um, but definitely, yeah, definitely kind of a lefty movie in which he ends up being kind of this crusty old man, kind of in a There Will Be Blood kind of way.
Uh-huh.
But he's a very prickly, sometimes unlikable, sometimes very unlikable character. And I think the fact that he brings this charisma, I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's so handsome, but also he has all this personality that really makes it work and makes you want to keep
Uh-huh.
watching him. So
I had
yeah.
never heard of this.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I think it's won a couple of awards. I think he won Best Actor at Venice last year, back when Joker took the Golden Lion, if we remember when that
Oh
happened.
dear. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and it was very well deserved, his Best Actor award. I think he's really great.
Cool. I'll have to check that out. I had never heard of it. Best supporting actress, I have Catherine Deneuve in The Truth. This
Mm.
was from our favorite Hirokazu Kurita. This was his first movie to be made in French, not in first movie to not be in Japanese, and I really enjoyed it. Juliette Binoche, Ethan Hawke. It's a slice of life movie that doesn't have a ton of plot, so some people will think it's boring. But she's great in the movie. She plays this uh, famous actress who writes this memoir about her life, and her daughter's like, "Wait, none of this actually happened." Like that you wrote, and so they have this conflict. And she's also doing a movie about memory and about it's a kind of a sci-fi movie, so there's sort of both things happening. And sh- she's just perfect in playing this kind of highfalutin movie star.
Of course she is. I bet she's
Hmm.
great. I haven't caught up with this one, even though, like you said, we both are fans of Hirokazu Koreeda. So I will hopefully check it out at sometime soon. Um, my pick for Best Supporting Actress from the movie Let Them All Talk, which came out on HBO, Meryl Streep. Talk about vacation movies in which they basically just went on a cruise ship and filmed the movie. Seems like that's what this is. Um,
Uh-huh.
but the one that I was really excited about, we obviously see Meryl Streep in movies all the time, but I was very happy to see Candice Bergen in a supporting role. And I was
Oh,
really happy. My pick is Diane Wiest, who plays another character. She
she's so
doesn't
good.
get as much to do as the other two, but she has she just reminded me of how great of an actress she is and how she should be in way more movies in better roles than she usually gets. She gets to do this monologue about um, space and about like life in this movie when they're having dinner that is absolutely beautiful. She knocks it out of the park. I love Diane Wiest. I was so happy to see her on screen again, and I hope to see her more often.
Yeah, she is great. I love her. So I haven't seen that. I haven't gotten to watch that, but
Mhm. So
yeah, I'll
that's on
check it
HBO
out.
Max right now.
Okay.
Directed by Steven Soderbergh. It's kind of a laid back movie, but it's a pretty good one, and everyone's really good in it. Who's Lucas Hedges is in it as well, and Gemma
Mm,
Chan. Everyone's really good in the cast.
he's great. I another one like Charlie Plummer, I think, young talent.
Hmm.
Uh, all right, very good. Okay, so supporting actor, I have definitely give it to Bill Murray for On the Rocks. I loved him in this movie. I thought he was so funny and charming, and I loved his dynamic with Rashida Jones. I thought they really worked to me as a father daughter combo, and he's kind of a scoundrel, but I don't know,
Hmm.
he's just so charming, and he's the kind of person that if he's in a room, he's owning the room. You know
Hmm.
he's there. And I thought I'm not always the biggest fan of Sofia Coppola's films, but this one really worked for me. I enjoyed it a lot. So
Hmm.
he was great.
Great. I also like this movie quite a bit. I was thinking when you got to Best Actor, I was thinking you were going to do Bill Murray, so you put it in supporting. That's what happened. Now it makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
because I think that's what the Oscars will do. So that was my excuse.
That's fine. I was just wondering when it happened. I was like, wait, what about Bill Murray? I thought you loved him in On the Rocks. So here it is. And I had a great time with On the Rocks. I have a softness for prickly, uh, kind of know it all scoundrel characters, like you're saying. And what I really liked about this movie and this performance is that he doesn't necessarily soften or change by the end, which I think is very truthful to how these people are and how your relationships with your parents is. You just gotta, either accept them as they are or let them go because trying to change your parents, let me tell you, it's not gonna
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's very true. Uh, but he grows a little bit as a character, but
Hmm.
he's just so freaking charming that. So, what do you have as supporting actor?
So for supporting actor, I'm gonna do another bit of a cheat. And the thing is that we used to have a best ensemble category, and then we got rid of it because we wanted to like streamline the awards this year
Hmm.
because we usually go on for way too long, and we're already going on for way too long. But um, there's a movie called Bloody Nose, Empty Pockets, which is
Oh.
a kind of a fiction slash documentary hybrid. I'll tell you what they did is they got a bunch of people who usually hang out at a bar and they made them come hang out at the bar, but they filmed and they said this act as if this was the last night that the bar is open, basically. So it is people playing themselves as go into the bar as they usually do, but it's also kind of a movie. So there's been a lot of talk on is this real or is it not? Should it be a documentary or should it not be classified as a documentary? I think in either case, the ensemble work is incredible. Everyone is so committed and honest, and you get to see a lot of incredible bits of confessionals and acting between them. And I wanted to single two people out from that ensemble who are really great for supporting
Hmm.
actor. One of them, I think his name is Bruce Hadnot. Um, at least his name, I know his name is Bruce. They're not credited in the movie as actors because it's presented as a documentary. So I'm not really sure if that's his last name, but he seems to be kind of a war veteran who is kind of very quiet and very keeps to himself. But also there are moments when he really opens up, and it's really really touching what he says about his experience, both serving as a military man and then coming back and feeling like he hasn't been treated well by his country, and on his return. And then there's this other guy, Michael Martin, who plays a bit of a, I think, uh, he's not the lead character because it's really an ensemble, but he's kind of this present figure who really interacts with everyone. And he's like this guy at the bar who talks to everyone, and he has things to say to everyone. And he has a lot to say about his past and everyone else. There's a really, really beautiful moment where he talks to a younger guy and he tells him about to not waste his life the way that he did. And he really talks about all the stuff that he's done and all the time that he spent at the bar and drinking and partying that he wishes he had spent doing other stuff. And it all feels so real, and it's a really really beautiful movie. I really recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it, which I assume is a lot of people because it's a very independent,
Yeah,
small movie.
I hadn't heard of it until so
Yeah.
that looks really interesting.
Bloody Nose, Empty Pockets. I definitely
Cool.
recommend it.
So best score, I give this one to Soul. I thought that the music by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross was really strong. Not only the jazz inspired music, but the music throughout I thought was
Mhm.
really beautiful.
Oh, great! I thought that music was great. I didn't know if they did the jazz as well. Is that true?
So they did have somebody else. Who was it that John Battisti
John Batiste.
did
I see.
the jazz songs, I
Oh,
guess.
got you.
So the
Okay,
three of them together.
yeah.
Um,
Music is beautiful in Soul.
mhm.
A pretty good movie. I have had my issues with Pixar lately, but I really enjoyed Soul quite a bit. I think they did a really great job.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm not as high on it as some people, but I still enjoyed it, and yeah, I thought that like I said, I thought the music was great. So
Yeah.
who do you have as for score?
For score, I have actually Emma, which I think has an incredible score, um, with beautiful, beautiful orchestral music appropriate for the time period, but also very um, modern sounding in its own way, and also a really great selection of um, songs. I would say are there. I suppose they're folk songs.
Yeah, they're like hymns almost.
Yeah, they're like hymns. That's right, and they're used very well, and some of them are really beautiful. I have listened to that score a lot since I saw the movie.
Hmm.
Whenever I'm like writing or just hanging out.
Yeah, it's a very good choice. A very very good choice. I love that too. So best screenplay, I have I have Minari as my choice for best screenplay. It's such a beautiful movie about a man who's trying to make a go of it as a farmer in Arkansas. He is a Korean immigrant, and
Mhm.
his mother-in-law ends up coming to stay with them, and he has a little boy and a little girl, and they are so cute. And it's a very hopeful. It's devastating at times, but also hopeful in its end kind of takeaway, and absolutely just beautiful movie. I know
Mhm.
you'd love it. You got to see it.
I want to see it, but I can't because I am not a Rotten Tomatoes certified critic, so I don't get screeners, and I don't think it's available yet for the commoners like me to watch it. But I definitely want to. So please let it out so I can see it.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah, that's true. It still hasn't gotten its release yet. I forgot, but it's it's great. It's really good.
Yeah, I bet. My screenplay, another movie that I know for a fact that you do not enjoy, and that is Kajillionaire, which
Uh-huh.
I absolutely loved it. I guess it all depends on whether or not you are into that wavelength, because everything that I think you found annoying about the sense of humor, I found hilarious. Everything that I feel like you probably rolled your eyes at, I was moved by the story of this really weird, dysfunctional family and this girl who's grown up so kind of like repressed and mistreated by her parents, who finally finds small ways to kind of break out of that, and how hard that can be, all presented in a very kind of offbeat comedic package. So that's definitely my kind of movie, and I loved it. That's by
Yeah.
Miranda July, by the way, the screenplay.
Yeah, my friend Louisa was her favorite of the year. I it was not it was not for me, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it. So best adapted screenplay, I would give it to Emma. It was my favorite.
And if we're gonna do adapt the screenplay, I would say Martin Eden, which is based on a Jack London novel from the
Mm,
early 1900s, but it's been transplanted to Italy, and also does a lot of great things in the adaptation, changing some stuff and making it really about the 20th century as a whole. Looking back, really great
mhm.
job.
Oh, that's good. So best duo, I could have talked about a number of ones that I've already discussed, but my one of my favorites was the Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti in To Palm Springs.
Hmm.
Was I saw it at Sundance, and I really enjoyed it, and I liked it when it came out. I got to see it again on Hulu, and I think they're charming in the movie, and so that would be my pick.
Great. We know that that for you, chemistry is really essential in any kind of
Hmm.
romantic comedy or just general movie romance. So that I think speaks highly of these two. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I heard it's pretty
Oh, you
good.
didn't get to watch it? It's pretty clever. I enjoyed it. What about you?
For me, it's just my favorite movie of the year is First Cow, and it's all about the central relationship
Mm,
for, to me, the best duo, the one that I've been thinking about the most, and that moves me every time I think about them is definitely Cookie and King Hu from First Cow, who are played by John Magaro and Orion Lee, who are both really beautifully great in the movie.
yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Best kiss, I actually have to give it to the final kiss between Peter and Lara Jean in To All the Boys. P.S. I Still Love You.
Wow.
It's the sequel to the first To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which I enjoyed both of them, and I thought the ending and the ending kiss in that movie was really sweet and very well done.
Great. And my best kiss is also the final kiss, but this time in Kajillionaire between Evan Rachel Wood and Gina Rodriguez. Like I said, I was just really moved by that movie, and by the time those two got together, and she, Evan Rachel Wood, who plays such a repressed character, was able to let go, I just like the tears were streaming down my face. I was so happy about that connection. So that's definitely the kiss I'll remember the most.
Mhm. All right, biggest laughs. I give this to Save Yourselves. This was my favorite dramatic movie out of Sundance, and it's very funny and about this hipster couple who uh, go to upstate New York, and they're putting away their phones. They're not gonna. Uh, they're going off the grid for a weekend, and of course that's the weekend of an alien invasion, and I thought it was quite funny, and it's they've got great chemistry between Sunita Amani and John Reynolds in the leads as this couple, and so that was my favorite comedy.
Great. The biggest laughs for me, I want to give an honorable mention, just not to Borat as a whole, which was pretty funny, but there's one moment where Borat gives a haircut that I think I've thought about that a lot. It's a very dumb joke, but it goes on, and to me, it was so funny. And every time I think about back at him, kind of giving this haircut to this guy, I just can't stop laughing. So that's my honorable mention. And the actual funniest movie that I saw, again, I think it might not be your cup of tea, Rachel. It's a movie called Bad Trip. It is basically a kind of a hybrid between a movie and a prank show. It is very tasteless and it is very crass. So, probably not something you would enjoy, but I thought it was really funny. It's got Eric Andre, Lil Rel Howery, and Tiffany Haddish in it. And they go into these kind of prank modes. With regular people that are really really hilarious, and at the end of the day they're less mean spirited than you would think. It ends up being a kind of a in its own way heartwarming movie about how people in the world will actually kind of try to help even though these crazy things are going on around them, which I appreciated.
Huh, I hadn't heard of that. Another one I haven't heard of. So interesting. Okay, so most rewatchable for me, it's got to be Emma. It's the one I rewatched the most of the
Mhm.
year.
Yeah, and to me, there's no question. These movies, in my opinion, are made to be rewatched over and over and just laugh along with them. It's The Trip to Greece, which is the fourth
Mm.
installment in the Trip series with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. I think a lot of people felt a little underwhelmed by The Trip to Greece. I really loved it. I thought it was really hilarious, and I thought that it brought a lot of um, dramatic stakes to the whole thing. So yeah, and I'll watch those movies any day. They're so rewatchable. They're just so fun to hang around.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, so Tearjerker is our next one, and I'm gonna give Tearjerker to a little. I think maybe a little underrated. I'm gonna give it to Onward, and
Oh.
particularly the ending. I thought the fact that that especially when that Dan Scanlon, that he made the movie because he never got to say goodbye to his dad, and the fact that he would have, spoiler alert, the Tom Holland character, who's his character, that he would have him not get to have that moment with his dad, and that he would sacrifice that for his brother, and let his brother have that moment. I thought was really a surprise. That I was expecting the movie to have to make it work somehow, that he would get to see his dad, but it ended up only being the brother, and I thought that was a really bold, interesting choice, and I made me cry, and I think the movie worked for me on that brother relationship, because I've had a bit of a rocky relationship with my brother, my older brother, and so I it's kind of spoke to me, and I liked it, and I particularly thought that ending was really good.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very lovely moment in a movie that I have to say I don't particularly like otherwise. So let's just move on
Mhm.
to my tearjerker, which is a movie that has also gotten a lot of praise and attention from critics groups, and that is the documentary Time by Garrett Bradley, which is the real life story of a woman named Fox Rich who is trying to get her husband released from jail, who's been jailed for, I think it's something like 30, 60 years, something like that, he's been sentenced for, and she's really trying to get him out of jail through activism and all that kind of thing. It's a really beautiful movie. It's really emotional, and by the end of it, um, it's all of the everything that has been building up towards it. It kind of just like bursts open, and it's almost like the floodgates opened for me, and I was like crying like a baby. I was so moved by what was happening. Definitely a beautiful, beautiful movie that I recommend to everyone.
Is this on a streamer?
I think it's on Prime.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Now I've seen it. I mean, I've seen
Hmm.
about it, but I haven't actually watched it
Yeah,
yet.
it's been getting a lot of awards and praise from critics for sure. So I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up at the Oscars or something.
So for date movie, I was going to, I don't know if I'm going to steal your joke because you always pick a you pick a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Um, and
Mm.
what I'll let you go first.
I actually haven't picked a cautionary tale this time around. I've
Okay.
actually taken it seriously. So why don't you give us a
Oh
little?
well. So I was going to say promising young woman as a joke.
Oh.
But no, but for real, I mean, I did actually quite enjoy Promising Young Woman. I thought it was quite good. But I would say it's a real date movie. I think Sylvie's Love. I saw it
Mm.
at Sundance, and I actually liked it better on the rewatch because I think I was just less tired and
Mhm.
more, in a better mood, I guess. And I it's a very stylistic. It's a throwback movie to the 1960s. And the director at Sundance, he said that he had never seen a Doris Day type movie with a black cast, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'll make one," and he did, and it was
Great.
really good.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see that one for as well ever since I heard. I think you're the person that first mentioned it to me, and I've been curious since. And now it's available, so I should really catch up with it. Um,
Yeah.
from what I hear, it would go really well with my pick for a date movie, which is the Steve McQueen part of his Small Axe series. Lovers Rock is the name of the movie,
Hmm.
which is basically takes place over one night at a party in the early 1980s in London of kind of like a Jamaican Caribbean immigrant community, and it's just a wonderful, uh, very sexy, very romantic movie about just having a night out and connecting with people on the dance floor, and um, definitely the most romantic movie I saw this year. So I think that would be perfect for a date, even though what is a date anymore, in the Zoom world?
Yeah. Right. Um, so best young performer, I could definitely talk about the little boy in Minari is the cutest thing to ever exist. But I want to give some love to an actor, little Winslow Fegley in Timmy Failure, Mistakes Were Made. I
Oh,
loved this movie. I thought it was so sweet and he was adorable. His little detective agency and going around on his Segway with his imaginary polar bear. And I loved this. I thought this movie had a great script, and it was one of my favorites of 2020. I really liked it, and he was so cute.
great. Um, I don't know how young my performers are that I picked, but I think they're pretty young, and they are Sidney Flanagan and Talia Ryder, who play the two girls in Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which is a pretty good movie. And I think they are really, really great in it. I think in many ways their performances really make the movie, and they bring kind of a realism and an honesty to it that I was really impressed with. And I'm happy to see that at least Sidney Flanagan has been getting some attention from awards critics for her work. I'm here to say that I think Talia Ryder, who plays the cousin, is also really great in the movie, and she should also be getting some attention.
Yeah, yeah, they're good in that for sure. All right, most underrated. I think Spontaneous has certainly got good reviews, but I think it's underappreciated and
Hmm.
people should be talking about it more.
Yeah.
But I think that Farmageddon, Shaun the Sheep, a movie, I think is the most underrated. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very cute and funny, and the little alien was adorable. And I just watching Shaun the Sheep try to order pizza, I could watch that all day. I thought it was so cute.
Yeah.
So it's not as good as the first ones, I guess that's why.
Hmm.
But I enjoyed it, and I think it deserves more love.
Yeah, I love Shaun the Sheep. Those movies are so funny. So I definitely endorse this pick. Um, my pick for the most underrated is a movie that I've seen very, very few people talk about. It's a Canadian movie called The 20th Century. Um, and this is directed by Matthew Ranking, and it's basically a very stylistic, expressionistic, surreal comedy biopic about William Lyon Mackenzie King, who is a Prime Minister of Canada. But this movie is kind of about before he became Prime Minister. This is a story of how he was kind of raised to be Prime Minister and how he's like frustrated about the fact that he can't get to be Prime Minister yet. And it's a very, very, very surreal comedy. The art direction and the visual effects and the style of the movie is very striking. It looks like a German expressionistic movie, but in color, and the comedy is really silly and it's very inventive. There's the climax of the movie is the way that they decide who's going to be Prime Minister of Canada is by doing like a ice skating race in which you have to it's almost like a hockey match but an ice skating, and there's a narwhal who comes and starts wreaking havoc. It's a really crazy movie. It's totally out there, and I think a lot of people would be impressed if they caught up with it.
That's another one I hadn't heard of. Very fun. It's amazing. You think uh, seeing 175 movies, I would have. There's so many still that I haven't seen. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, great. So last topic we added this year is the best movie to watch in quarantine. And for me, the best experience in quarantine was watching Hamilton. I absolutely loved it. I love Broadway musicals and I love Hamilton. And I thought they did a great job of filming the musical and really kind of drawing you in. I've seen it live, and this is a different experience. The way that you get close up to the actors, and it was just really cool because they announced that Broadway had been canceled, and that was devastating. And so then the next week we get to see Hamilton, so that was very comforting. And so that was my favorite. I don't know. I just felt like that encapsulated kind of the experience of being isolated and in quarantine. For me, was getting to watch Hamilton.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like it also was one of those moments where it felt like everyone was watching the same thing and everyone was talking
Yes.
about the same thing, which was definitely something that we had. I don't know, it became more noticeable this year when we were
Yeah.
all at home when that
Yeah.
happened.
What about you?
So I want to be completely honest with myself and my experience in quarantine, and I gotta say that for me, the best way to deal with the quarantine was actually to look to movies of the past, like I said at the beginning. So to go back and look at stuff that I had been meaning to catch up, stuff from different times, kind of to see how I don't know exactly why, but I guess there was something comforting perhaps about knowing that there's always been problems in history in the past and humanity has persevered, that you see that these emotions and that we have now and concerns have been there. And I mean, I guess sometimes it can be a little disappointing to see that there's still these problems are still around, but it's also comforting to know that we
Right.
have been humans all along, and we have been thinking about the same things and we've had empathy. So I'm just gonna say, um, I don't know, the Criterion Channel.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know, just
we
like
were talking, it kind of reminded me of when I was talking about watching Doctor Strangelove
sure.
after, yeah, on our Criterion project. That it was kind of in an odd way, sort of comforting to know.
Hmm. Yeah,
uh,
definitely.
I get
I've
that.
definitely found a lot of reward in going back and seeing movies of the past. So that's what I would recommend.
Very good. All right, we did it. We gave out all our awards. Congratulations
Fantastic.
to all the winners.
Congratulations to all the winners. You will be getting your award in the mail. Um, and please send us a video of you accepting
Yeah,
your
that's
award.
right. That's right. So I think we covered a lot of movies. So if you get to watch any of them, if you have thoughts of any of them, let us know in the comment section or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And so thanks so much for doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how can people find you and your content?
So people who listen to Rachel's reviews will probably be interested to listen to the Criterion Project, which is the podcast that we do together, in which Rachel and I talk about movies in the Criterion channel and Criterion collection. So if you want to take my recommendation to heart of looking at movies of the past, that would be a great way to start. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at Coco Hits NY.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And make sure to check out the Hallmarkies podcast for interviews and all your rom-com fun over there. So check that out. And thanks so much. And you make sure that you check out our Patreon. I would really appreciate that. And then also I have our merch store, which has lots of fun stuff. So take a look over there. And thanks again, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye,
See you
everyone.
later.